Hey guys, my name is Mike Wills, and I'm a game developer for about 4 years now. I took a course in college for 2 years in 2016, graduated, and I decided to make games as a hobby ever since. So I built these two games on Steam and actually officially released them. Built them from scratch, from I don't know, sound effects, graphic design to music to gameplay to all the programming that's included. So this video, I basically wanted to talk about the actual development of the two games that I built in the last 2 years. I built Devastation Annihilate the Alien Race in February of 2020. Devastation 2 Repatriation was built this year in January, so it's been a few months. I just booted up another game that I've been working on for the last 5 months called Vervius Genocide. It's basically a Quake Doom type game. You kill enemies and you get guns and stuff. So, Devastation Annihilate the Alien Race was inspired by a game that was built by one of my friends, which he was also my instructor in school. We just kind of clicked because we were both game developers. And the game that he had built was called Score Rush, and it was a shoot 'em up game that basically it was a bullet hell. You shot tons of bullets, the enemy shot tons of bullets, and there's explosions, and screen was shaking, and enemies die off and they fall on the ground. And it was a really cool game, so I got super inspired by it, and I decided to build Devastation, Annihilate the Alien Race. And this one was built here. I'll just click on it on Steam here. So this one here was built in inspiration from his game, because I wanted to build the mechanics that he had kind of built in his, but I wanted to make my own version of it. So I didn't really make it a crazy bullet hell, but there's bullets everywhere in this game. So I'm just gonna pop her on real quick. I'm just gonna talk about it. So this game here was inspired also by night terrors that I used to have in my childhood about these alien ships that are in the sky that came down, and they would kill you from behind or stab you, or they would morph into some kind of object or creature or something, and they would get you. And then whenever they got you, I would wake up, and then yeah. So I wanted to make, I don't know, the alien ships kind of look like whatever those creatures were in my night terrors when I was a kid. So that's where this kind of booted up from. I was like, all right, I'm gonna build a ship. I'm gonna kill all these aliens. So Devastation Annihilate the Alien Race is about aliens, and you kill them in space, and you wipe them out so they don't attack people on Earth anymore. So that's basically the story. Um, every game that I build, it always starts out with let's say, epileptic screen, because always have flashing screens and explosions, stuff like that. And then I go into my actual intro boot video showing Nigel Phoenix or Ant Phoenix Games or whatever. And then that would transition into the actual intro, or this game doesn't have an intro, but I guess title screen. And then once you click start, go right into the menu, and then you can select whatever options you have. So this one here, I started with like a normal mode, survival mode. It's like it's time to kill the enemies, and that builds your time. If you die, you lose your time. Hardcore mode was kind of for my friend in his Score Rush game, because when you die, or when you get hit, you die. That's it. So you only got one hit. Hardcore mode, you got one hit, you die. But normal mode, you have a shield and a core. That's kind of what's in the middle of that ship right there on the screen. So I'm just gonna select normal mode on regular. You have no lives. You can have no bombs, or you can have maxed out weapons all the time, whatever you want. You can set up whatever difficulty you want. And then here's your ship. So this is a 4-player game. You can play it three other people. There's power ups. This is the super power up. You just kill everything with it. It gets upgraded when you have your upgrades. This is an upgrade there, so now I can shoot 4 bullets instead of 2. And then you basically just kill off all these enemies and dodge these bullets. You can lay bombs, kill everything on the screen, gather more power ups, kill more enemies. By the time at the end of the level, you start fighting a boss. So you got explosions, screen shaking, and your score. So I also implemented a mechanic with that special cannon there. So whatever you kill in that time period that the cannon is active, then it would double your score, or actually no, it would add a doubled amount of points to your score. So at the end of each level, you get a boss, and then you just kill off the boss, and then there's every phase it does a damage, or is it? I call them damage phases. So every second phase would spawn an upgrade point that would just help you out if you didn't have any upgrades, because when you die you lose all your upgrades. So it kind of helps the player out so they don't have to fight a boss with just 2 little bullets, and you won't be able to get any farther, and it would take forever to kill them. So just give the player a little boost there when things go wrong. So this is basically Devastation Nolly to the alien race. It's you can play this on the Steam remote play with 3 other people if you wanted to. So if they all own the game, you can play all together online. You can just build your score, kill everything, and maybe if you play it on the hardest difficulty and you beat all 10 levels, then you'll get the secret developer boss, which I built. It's actually my logo that you fight, so it's kind of cool. So that's Devastation 1. Devastation 2 is inspired from Devastation 1, and I was like, well, let's build this game in 3D. I wanted to build this game in 3D. I was like, how the hell am I going to do that? So there's a lot of work involved in this game. So Devastation 1 took me 5 months, and it's all it is sprites and code. That's all it is sprites, and I guess I have some videos in there for the background that moves or whatever. But that's basically it. There's not really too much to a 2D game, but 3D you got a whole different uh, pile of stuff. So you got your physics, you got your 3D options, you got models that you got to build, you got 3D collisions, and you got to implement all the code to work like that, and so it's a lot harder. So this Devastation 2 was a story built off of Devastation 1. So this intro kind of explains that the ships actually installed a virus 32 years later that was left dormant, and then it took over the world, and now they own the cyberspace that you call internet. Excuse me. So basically, the alien ships like we are one, or yeah, you are one, we are many. We are no longer outside, but we are inside. Your data now belongs to us. So they own the whole network. So you notice that your computer is all just corrupted. It's messed up. So shown here, the operating system's failed, and but your backup systems are still intact. So you launch Project Horus, and then you're able to access the network through this, and then you destroy what you call Biterians, the data enemies of the cyberspace. So first off, this is the title screen, and it was inspired by the little wave that was on the PlayStation 3. So when you boot it up, it said PS3, and the wave would just go or whatever. You could change colors and stuff. That's kind of what I did with this. I used it was a plugin called 3D Elements for Adobe After Effects, and it enables me to be able to twist and warp 3D objects, and then I can make it rotate, and then it will basically turn into a wave in the background. So I also did some 3D development in Photoshop. You can make a 2D image 3D. So, and then you make it 3D, and then you export it as an OBJ object, and then I can import that into the Element 3D plugin. So this is how I was able to build um, some of the videos for Devastation 2. And I was able to take some of the images from like screenshots that I've made for Devastation 2, and I can distort or mess up the turbulence or whatever. And that's what you kind of see if you've ever played Metroid Prime. I think it's 2 or 3, um, or even just Metroid Prime, where you got your phase on or whatever. It gives me that phase on effect that's in the background in this. So let's see here. All right, so with Devastation 2, I decided to build a profile system that would save in 10 different slots. So that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. I've never learned it before, and I've never done it. So I decided to build this profile system where it can manipulate the files, it can detect what files are there, and it can actually read what's in the files. And I decided not to add the option to copy a file and paste it. I didn't see any relevance for that. So my game also has cheat detection as well. So if you add in any cheats to the game, then it would detect like, oh, you just cheated. So let's see here. I'll just pick John. Let's see here. So we'll go to John. So right now, currently signed in as John. I'll just open up the login menu. Devastation 2. I'm in debug mode. Actually, I don't think this actually affects. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't affect it. All right. But yeah, if you put in other cheats that I have, you probably won't know them. I probably should make like a game facts or something like that and put a bunch of cheats on there, but I didn't. Anyway, that's with the profile system. You're able to delete your file, add your file. You can make it a cheat file. Each file has its own save or options that are saved into a file. Your achievements are specific to that profile, but any achievements that you unlock actually instantly get uploaded to the Steam ID for your account. Sorry. So basically, in the main menu, once you boot up, you have your game mode, your achievements, and your leaderboards. One thing I couldn't do with Devastation 1 and 2 was the leaderboards. Let's see here. Yeah, I couldn't get the leaderboards to work on the Steam API, so I'm still trying to learn that, but it's actually most difficult because the Steam API, they only give you so much information online to learn, and some of it I don't understand. So if I was able to have someone teach me how the Steam API works, be a better partner for them, and then I can definitely do leaderboards and other stuff. But I'll figure that out later. Anyway, the options in this game are a little more better than what I've done in previous games. You get your controls, your graphics, and a tutorial. Set whatever resolution. Some of these some of these options aren't really, they don't work very well. Like they work, but I mean, like look at all the scale, like all the resolutions that your computer can hold. So I'm trying to like go down to the last one. There we go. Turn on VSync. There. All right, so you can set the graphics and your audio and stuff if you want. Tutorial system. This was a whole other section that I had to do. I couldn't determine if I wanted to do a whole video that just told you how to play the game, or I guess I built this, and this is probably the third iteration of it. A friend told me that it was an encyclopedia of my game. If you want to look where how to move, how to dash, how to free fire, how to lock on, etc., um, it's all here. So that's what I built. If you don't know how to play the game, it's all there. Everything you can learn there, and it's not that hard to learn this game. It's literally just a shooter. You hold down the trigger and you kill enemies. The achievements will eventually unlock. Let's go to another account here. So these are the achievements here. So if you like kill like 2,000 enemies with each of these three weapons. There's other ones like you kill amount of enemies within the time of like hyperspeed or something like that. You can gain multiplier or multipliers. Get all the color concepts. Gain like over 5,000 core points. So you use these core points at every end of the level because Devastation 1, it was just you jump in, you kill the enemies, boss, kill enemies, boss, kill enemies, and it's just nonstop. This one, you jump in, then there's an intro of the level. So you got an intro, this is your weapons, rank of the weapons, and then there's a brief story about the weapon. And then this one here is the enemy, how strong the enemy is, some basic data or whatever, and then the story of the enemy. And each level adds another enemy and adds another enemy. And that's the same as Devastation 1. You kill all the enemies in level 1, and then you go to level 2, and there's a new enemy. So level 3, there's another new enemy, and so forth. So basically, Devastation 2, once you beat the level, so you beat all the enemies, you beat the boss, and then it goes to like an upgrade screen where you're able to upgrade your ship. You can buy. So every time you kill an enemy, you get these core points. So up at the top there, you see where it says 999. It's because I enabled debug mode, and I got full core points. So you buy stuff for these core points, and you can upgrade. Even this Giga Blaster here, you can determine if you want to get a different weapon instead of Giga Blaster. You can get Saber Blazer or Halo Caster or Enigma Cannon, wherever you want there. They're all pretty good weapons. There's one there. It's called the Devastator DV system. Um, this weapon will kill everything in the game. So abilities and stuff help you overcome enemies faster. Hyperspeed makes you move faster, slows down the enemies, slows down their bullets, and you can shoot super fast. So it's like if you think about time and space, it slows the enemies down. It makes you super fast, but fast enough that you're able to obviously comprehend it. So the bosses and stuff here. I just want to talk about some games that I've played previously. So when I grew up, I played Duke Nukem, Quake, Doom, Descent, all those cool first-person shooters that were all for PC back in the day. They got released on like these really old 1997 CD-ROMs that had these shareware versions of all these games, and that's how I discovered most of the game database back in when I was like 7 years old. So I basically was inspired by all of the ideas that were implemented in those games. So talking about Descent always had these robots that you would fight in a mine. They had eyes and they had cannons and different weapons. They shot missiles, they shot lasers and plasma blasts and stuff like that. So this is how this enemy and all the other enemies are kind of built. I used the Unity Pro Builder to 3D model these enemies, and that's kind of what I did. Is I built a Descent type of thing. So even like when you go back to where it shows the preview of the weapon and all the stats and story, and the preview of the enemy stats and story, those are kind of the same idea from Descent. So when you right before you go into the mine descent, it would show uh, the main head guy like, this is your job. You got to go into the mines, and then it shows you the preview of the enemy, and it shows how strong they are and what they shoot and stuff like that. So I thought that was a really cool idea, and I wanted to do that for all of my enemies. So that's what I did for each level. Every time an enemy spawned or there was a new enemy, then there would be a new video before the enemy would appear, so you can read about it first before you fight it. So that's kind of what I did. So primary and secondary weapon options in this upgrade system here is all of the weapons that you collect in the game. So right there's 11 weapons. So some of these weapons are all inspired from other games as well. Homing missile, obviously, Descent, that was like one of the main missiles I used. There's concussion missile and then homing missile. So I use homing missile. The homing actual system in code, when I was programming it, I didn't know how to do it. It's like, how do you detect an object that start chasing another object that's moving? And also, how about you chase the closest object? So I had to figure out how to do that, and I did that through the distance between the enemy and the player. So, or no, the enemy and the missile. Sorry. So if the enemy was right here, and then there's enemy here, it'll just go after the closest. So it's basically the detecting the distance between each enemy that's in the object pool list. So that's kind of what I did with this game. Where Devastation 1, I didn't object pool, which I should have, because that's one thing that you should not do is instantiate and destroy. You shouldn't do it, because what it does is it collects over time. So when you instantiate an item, it's actually instantiating something in code. And anything that you don't use in code anymore, that it basically gets chucked to garbage. So it goes right straight to garbage collection. So you'll have spikes and performance issues and memory issues and slowdowns, all that stuff when you don't manage your garbage collection. So object pooling is like one of the main things that you should do in every single game if you have a lot of stuff that you're going to be spawning, like bullets and missiles and enemies and even sound effects. So sorry, I'm doing a lot of talking. So basically, I had to do a lot of object pooling in Devastation 2 because there's tons of weapons, there's tons of enemies. So as with these two options, it's basically story of the game. You click on it, it shows you the damage, the fire rate, the energy it takes, the force. Same with the secondary weapons as well. It's just all story if you want to just learn about the weapon. So the main thing is the upgrades. I made 4 different options that you can select, and there's 6 different options in those 4 different options. So you got your weapons, your secondary weapons, your armory. If you want to upgrade your how much damage you can take, your boosters. You can change the color of your ship. The intake cartridges. If you want to start out with full, where you can have hyper mode immediately, you can spend money to do that, or spend your core points. So when you buy stuff, it gets stored in your boosters section. Just gonna buy a bunch of stuff here. So the code that I had to build for this was quite difficult. I shouldn't have used static variables, but I did because I wanted the game system to read what was static, if it was true or false, and then read it, and then the static would be throughout the entire game, where it wouldn't be just independent to itself. It would just reset when the game reset. So that's kind of what I wanted it static. So let's see here. Just buy a couple weapons. So the Terminus missile there that I just bought was the inspiration from the Earthshaker missile from Descent, where it hits an enemy, splits off into 5 different missiles, and then it shakes the screen. But mine, it just splits off into 5 missiles, and it kills all the enemies. And when it hits the enemies, it explodes into a big explosion, and it just wipes out the whole wave. And so this here, the EMP bomb, is actually I think it's the item that you pick up in Descent. It's called the proximity mine. Uh, this here is different because it's a bomb, and then when you shoot it, it launches out, and then if it hits an enemy, it shoots an EMP and it disables everything. But if the enemy is weak, like the first enemy, it'll kill the whole wave instead of stunning them. So this will actually install. This will basically stall the boss as well. So it'll stun it. It gives you a short period of time to actually attack it without so many bullets coming at you. So it kind of helps. This nuclear missile is the same as the nuke in Devastation 1. This one actually goes after the enemy and it blows up, kills everything around it. It's pretty simple. Cytonic missile is the same as the smart missile in Descent, but the projectiles that are emitted from this missile are just exploded into space, and if enemies run into it, it kills them instantly. Where the smart missile, when you shoot an enemy, it blows off the other bullets or whatever projectiles, and then they go after other enemies like they're homing to it. And I didn't do that, so I had to do something different. Micro missiles are just static missiles that they shoot really fast and they have a pretty high velocity. The machine gun is basically the same thing as the machine gun in Devastation 1. You upgrade it, and you can shoot up to 4 cannons, or no, 6 cannons, sorry. So you have 6 cannons shooting simultaneously, killing enemies as fast as possible. So it's really good. And then there's these upgrades for the weapons. You can't buy them unless you own the weapon. So I kind of implemented that. But silver bullets do like double damage or something like that. So it makes your machine gun insane. And the spread fire weapon, or the spreader, is actually the spread cannon from Descent. I know I'm saying a lot of weapons from Descent, but I'm just super inspired by those weapons, so I wanted to implement them in this game to see how I could get them to work. So the spreader shoots like this, and then this and this and this, like back and forth constantly. So that's when when you first buy the weapon. But when you buy the upgrade or the spread or I'll just buy it. So the energy splitter. So you keep buying energy splitters, and then it turns into the Helix cannon from Descent 2. So it just shoots in a straight line. It's kind of like Contra, where you get the spread cannon. If you ever played Contra for a regular Nintendo, it just shoots like these balls or whatever. So that's kind of what this is. But as soon as you go down here and you buy the spread rotator, it will rotate it. So after that, then I will show you the fusion cannon. That's Descent 2. You charge up these giant cannons, and then they fire and they blow up and kill everything. So it's like a charging weapon. And then you get the photon lasers, or just lasers, and then you get the quad attachment to shoot 4 lasers instead of 2. That's also in Descent. So yeah, there's a lot of inspiration from Descent with the weapons, because I actually liked all of the weapons for the ship when you play that game. So let's see here. And these weapons here, these are ones that you collect from the enemies. So you already seen Alien Fragment G, so that's a Giga Blaster. Fragment S, Fragment H. So Saber Blazer, Halo Caster, and the Enigma Cannon. So this here is basically the Shining Laser from Mega Man Legends or Mega Man 64. So that's the final weapon in that game. That it's like you got to gather all these items, and it builds into a shining laser that's like it's so powerful it can kill enemies like one hit. So that's kind of what I did with that. It was a saber blazer. It's a shining laser. this weapon here, the Halo Caster, was built from a game called, I think it's called B Wings. I can't remember, but it's for the regular Nintendo. Yeah, it's called B Wings. So you're a little ship and you fly, and it's kind of like a shoot 'em up. And there's these obstacles that have like these colors, and you shoot the colors, and it kills the obstacle. So if you do it right, because there's a bunch of them, there's a secret weapon hidden inside of it, and then when you get it, it gives you this ring weapon. So it shoot the rings, and they would spin, and they would kill all the enemies. So you just press the A button, and then it would kill all the enemies. So that's kind of what I did with the Halo caster here. Is I shot it, but they're not, instead of being horizontal, they're vertical, and then they spin like this. So they just wipe all the enemies off the screen basically whenever it just hits them. So it's a really good weapon. The Enigma Cannon is basically a Gatling cannon. It's our minigun. You got double minigun, and they have explosive grenades that hit the enemies, and they explode and kill other enemies. But then the cool feature about this weapon specifically is because it has an overclock feature. So if you overclock at 100%, you will damage yourself or kill yourself, one or the other, depending on how many hit points you got left. And but the cool thing is, if you overclock around 90, you can kind of hold the trigger enough to hold it at 90. You're doing maximum damage. So I think it's every from 0 to 100, your damage goes up. So it's basically overclocking to do more damage. And I think that's probably the coolest thing about that weapon. So let's see here. So yeah, the boosters, the whole system here, you can select whatever you want, whatever you have unlocked. So Devastation 2 was it was a pretty difficult game to build. Like I said, it took me a year and a month to build this game, and I spent a lot of time after work. I was working 8 to 9 hours a day on top of taking care of an infant, um, and then it just it took a long time to have this game built. So I spent a lot of time falling asleep and just trying to get everything working and having everything bug free. So that was the hardest thing about this game, is having no bugs. So the only thing I can really say about this game is the see, there's the Halocaster there. So it just shoots all these cool rings. So this game, the hardest thing about it was trying to make it work efficiently. And I still didn't officially get it working the way I wanted to, because there is garbage in it. Sometimes you can't avoid it, but you can just optimize it. So that's kind of what I did, but it could be a lot worse than what it was. So what I did was learning more about the profiler in Unity and seeing what is taking the most memory and what is causing the garbage collection. Because you can actually select the options off and have just garbage collection enabled. And then as soon as it does that garbage spike, you click on the profiler, and then it will show um, down in the options of the hierarchy, and it will show what is taking all that garbage. And usually it's materials that are changing constantly, or say if it was text that was constantly changing. Every time you change a string in code, it's garbage. And I guess I didn't know about string builder building Devastation 2, where I now know about that. So that's what I did, was I would build string builder in my new games now, but this one I didn't know about it, so I didn't have it in there. So that's causing garbage. So I mean, I could go back and optimize it, but I've already released the game, and I've already pretty much finished it doing the work that I wanted to do on it. So the enemy spawning system itself um, was is a bit lacking too, because I had a friend that was playing the game, and he told me, he's like, why don't you just have the enemies come out as a pattern, or shaped as something, or have more gameplay, because you're basically just shooting enemies constantly. And I was like, well, that is a good idea, but the way I built the spawn system, I'd have to erase everything, go back, and then re-implement that new system. Because the way I have it set up now is that the enemies will spawn randomly within um, an X and Y location on the screen, and then when they'll spawn far back, and then when they spawn, they move forward, and then they start moving locally in their little space, I guess you can say, and then they'll start shooting bullets. So the spawn system, the way I have it set up, is it's categorized as a main enemy and a sub enemy. You can't tell the difference in the game, but you can by, if you shoot an enemy and it spawns two more enemies, then you shot a main enemy and it spawned two sub enemies. So you wouldn't really know that unless I just told you. So it's not really a Hydra effect where you kill one and two and take its place. It's more of a, you just kill the main ones and then it will spawn more. If you kill all of it, then the whole, or you kill all the main ones, then the wave is over, and then it will go to the next wave, and then there's 10 waves. You kill all the waves, and then the boss will appear, and then you kill the boss, and you go to the upgrade menu, and then you go to the next level. And then there's 12 levels in this game, and then once you get the 12th level, I actually changed up the gameplay a little bit and made a free roam mode instead of being a static um, ship shooting enemies coming at you. You have like a Star Fox game where you can fly around this area in the middle, and the enemies spawn through this beam of light. So it's like the main area um, where all the enemies come from. So it's like you beat the boss, and then it blows up and it kills everything there, and then you would win. So that's basically the whole, I don't know, start to finish type thing with this game. Let's see here. So like I said, I spent about a year building this game, and I didn't really make a whole ton of sales on this. I'm not really surprised, but I'm happy to have this amount of content built. And I didn't use any Unity assets. I didn't use other people's work. I specifically built everything from scratch. The levels I can probably talk about a little more in detail. So the levels, I was told from a friend that it was a quote almost like, you want to build your very first level last. And I didn't really understand that until he explained the concept that after you build your first level, it's going to suck. Everything that you first build, it's going to suck. So once you get into the actual game and you start coming up with more ideas and better optimization and better ways to make things, and you just get better. By the time that you're done the game and you go back to your first level and you're like, this thing's crap. Why would you got to change it? So I can't remember the name of the guy that was developing a game, but I think he reiterated his level maybe 20 times or something like that, because it just got better and better and better and better. I mean, there's a time that you should say, oh, I got to cut it off here. And because you could just keep making it better and making it better and making it better. Because I find it's like an infinite loop, but I think you got to cut it off. So I did reiterate maybe the first and the second and the third level maybe 3 times. Oh no, the fourth one I did maybe 3 times as well. So yeah, those levels, they changed completely from the very first time. So I'm going to show you a little YouTube video of my first prototype of Devastation 1. I'll show you what it started like. All right, this is I built this, or this video was a year ago. So obviously I didn't have the right sound effects. I was just throwing things in. It's just getting the reticle, or the thing, to work. I didn't have anything hooked up. This is the very first thing. So I only had a level and a moving level. So the level actually scrolls infinitely. So it's only, I think it's like 3 pieces, and each piece is like 4 different sections. So it's like the whole thing is moving, and it's infinite. And I basically, what I did was, at the very end of the level, is I put up a black plane, so you just see nothing. So it's just black space. So all you see is the level coming forward, and you don't see where it spawns in front of the black screen. So that's the first prototype. This is the very first level that I've ever built. As you can see, it was like more of an iteration from Devastation 1, because I wanted to take those, the 3D effect of the background. See, this is an old video too. So yeah, see the 3D effect of the background, where things are moving and scrolling. Yeah, as you can see the old sprite. Even the enemies had their shields and cores. That's funny. But yeah, so I wanted to take Devastation and make it 3D, and that's basically what I did. This is the 5th day that I was working on it. So I had enemies by the 5th day, and I think I was able to kill them. Oh, and I had a rail gun too. Okay, so yeah, so some people were like, "Well, how did you build your levels? What did you do?" So I kind of was, I didn't really show off what I did to build a level, because it was a lot of work and it took me hours. But I actually was like, well, you know what? I'm going to build level 8. I think that's when I decided, level 8. I'm going to build the whole thing, and I'm going to get it on cam. And I basically, what I did was manipulate objects in Photoshop, make them 3D, and then I imported them into the Unity engine, and then that's what I built. And I made them as objects that would sit there, and then you would just, it would just design the whole level. But anyway, that I think there's one more thing I want to talk about. It would be the sound effects of the game. I basically just took this phone, and I made all these sound effects for all my previous games that I built. Devastation 1 was one of those, and I basically took those sound files, manipulated them in Adobe After, or Adobe Audition, and made them, or tweaked them and messed them up to work for my game, so making them sound like my like the gun, or the way I wanted it. So that's kind of what I do now, is I take my previous files and I manipulate them and make them different each time. So my game that I'm building right now, Vervius, is some of the sound effects are from previous games that I built, and I just manipulated them. I would just make like a jump sound, like a or like a huh, or something like that. Then I take that and make it either deeper or a more higher pitch, or make it like sound different than my voice. And that's what kind of what Devastation 2 has, is an announcer, and it's like um, insane combo, and devastating combo. It's like get ready, annihilate, and stuff like that. I like the announcement that I put in there. So what I kind of did with that was a little bit different than what I would normally do with, like, if I was just to do a voice into the phone. I did that at first, but it didn't sound right. So I actually used the Microsoft speech thing, like where you can type in something and it would say it back to you on the screen. So I'd make it to one of the characters that Microsoft has implemented in there. I made it on the lowest pitch possible, and then I would record it with my video card, and then extract that sound on into Audition, and then I would basically tweak it to make it sound like the uh, the announcer in my game. So that's what I did for sound. Music, on the other hand, it's difficult to make a soundtrack because all of the music, it can take hours or days just to make a song, and sometimes you get like music block. Like you get writer's block. You can't figure out what to write, but you get music block. You can't figure out what make it sound next, like what make it sound like. So I actually just recently released this official soundtrack for Devastation 2. I might do it for Devastation 1. I'm not sure, but I'll just play one song here. So this is like one of my favorite songs of this of Devastation 2, and it creates the whole dynamic feel of the level. So like even the boss battle, I just want like an up pitch beat that's going to it's like, oh, this is the boss, and you want to fight it. It's fast paced. That's kind of what the song is portraying. And the final boss was like, it's slow but it's mean at the same time, and I try to make it like more inspiring, like you're fighting like the last final thing of the game, and that's what I wanted to do. So I use Magic's Music Maker for like since 2012. I was creating music and designing wallpapers way before I started game development, and I I didn't know what to do with it. Like I was making music albums. Like I had 6 albums with 12 songs per album, and some of them were pretty cool. I had some people that were kind of interested in it, and I was getting bored of it. And by the final album, the 6th album there, I was like, I got to do something with my inspiration with music. So I was like, let's put it in games. So I started doing music in games now, and that's kind of what I do on the side. It's like if I don't feel like programming, if I don't feel like doing graphic design, I'll just pop on Music Maker and I'll just mess with all the tunes and stuff. Let's see here. I'll just boot up a soundtrack and I'll show you what I actually do. So Music Maker or Magix, I actually purchased it. Um, it's quite a bit of money. It's probably 200 some dollars to get this program. And let's see here. So I have a bunch of things: the achievements, the boss, the credits, final boss. So the song that you're just listening to, this is it right here. So all of this is like custom custom notes that I've implemented. This here I didn't make. This is usually the part of the sound pools that come with the program, but these here are all my own. Oh yeah, I can't play it through right now, but yeah, that's basically how I make music. So yeah, that is basically everything. So if you're interested in checking out Devastation 1 and 2, They're on Steam for, I think, Devastation 2 is $7.99 US dollars, and Devastation 1 I think is $4.99 US dollars. And I spent a lot of time working on these games, so I'm very happy for people who have supported me already, and I'm very thankful for the people who have actually helped me out, play testing and just giving me better design ideas and stuff like that, for building these games. And Devastation 1 was my very, very first game I've ever released on my own, or even in general. In learning the Steam API was a whole other section that I didn't know about, and I had nobody to help me, or nothing really to look off of, or anything on the internet to help me out with the API. So I kind of had to sit through looking through the documents on Steam and figure out what to do. So that's kind of the reason why I don't have leaderboards working on my games. So maybe later on I'll figure that out, but right now I can't. So anyway, I have a personal website. It's called michaelwills.net. If you want to contact me, if you want to ask me any questions, if you want to just chat about game dev stuff, like I'm all for it. Just let me know through the contact there. You can get a hold of me through social media too. I'm always on Twitter like every single day. So if you need to contact me through there, I can get a hold of you then. And if you want to follow me or subscribe to any of my content there, you want to keep up to date, stuff like that, just click that button and I'll give you a follow back for sure. And I'm just really happy to be a game developer, and I'm very passionate about my work and my stuff. So I thank you for watching this video, and I hope that you've learned quite a bit. It was a lot of work for me to come up with most of the content that I have and to talk about it. And I normally don't talk on cam, so this is definitely a new one for me. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and thank you for watching. I hope you take care.